We're live. Countdown. Finally. Hello, welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I'm Willie Bragg, and I like to discuss politics and in light of what's been going on politically, and we are a very polarized society. And before I get started, I tried doing a video earlier today. I had a little bit of technical difficulties, and it got resolved. So anyway, I'm back. But anyway, let me get back to what I was saying. We're a highly polarized society, and it seems like everything is a culture war, and no matter what, it seems like every president comes a lot with baggage. I mean, even now, President Joe Biden, who is as establishment, as middle of the road and milk toast as they come. That's my problem with him. I mean, the conservatives, the right wing in this country, I don't want to really say conservatives because, but the right wing and the really, really deranged right wing, the really loud people on the right, thinks that Joe Biden is a socialist. He's not. I wish he was. They think that he's being influenced by Bernie Sanders and AOC. They're not that radical. And I wish that Joe Biden was listening to Bernie Sanders and AOC. I would prefer for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to be listening to Bernie Sanders and AOC than to be listening to Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema. I will repeat for any conservative that thinks that Mitch McConnell's claims that and believe what Mitch McConnell says that Joe Biden says he has time to listen to Bernie Sanders. Motherfucker, I wish that was the case. And I wish it was the case. In fact, I wish not only that was the case, not 2022 Bernie Sanders. I wish that Joe Biden could listen to 1990s Bernie Sanders and 2018 AOC. Okay? How's that? But the thing about it is they think he's a hardcore leftist. They think Kamala Harris is a hardcore leftist. None of it's true. They are pretty damn centrist, almost Republican. I mean, almost like a moderate Republican. They are where really the Republican Party should be politically. In fact, if I had it my way, with the Overton window, was like to see a Republican Party that's mildly to the left of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, where there is a Labor Party where Bernie Sanders and the AOC are politically in the middle, where someone like an Elizabeth Warren type, if we must have to include the snake, would be the right wing of such a Labor Party, where someone like I'm trying to think of a good figure on the left. Right now, I would say perhaps someone like a Christian Small would be the left wing of such a Labor Party. But the thing about it is, this is the Overton window we got. It's unfortunate. It looks like it's here to stay. And I'm saying this after being involved in one way or another with politics all these years. And it's amazing. The country would just keep shifting further and further to the right. And to hear some conservatives and some libertarians and some neoconservatives and various schools of right-wingers saying we're shifting further and further left. We're headed down the road toward socialism. I see no socialism. I see no socialism. I mean, I don't, I don't want it to be North Korea. I mean, we'll agree with that. I mean, but I don't see any socialism, and honestly, nothing even looking like Canada. Canada's not a socialist country. Nothing looking like any country in Western Europe. Some of the various social democracies. It's not looking anything like that. So here's where we're at. We got a almost non-existent labor movement. And I'll hear some people be like, I'll hear some conservatives pretending to be reasonable and say, well, unions can be a good thing, but let's get rid of the government sector unions. Well, that's almost half of the unions we got right now in this country. So when you do a discourse with conservatives, I'm not saying you have to be an asshole to them, but when they go and say things like, well, I'm all for unions, but not in the public sector. Those government unions got to go. Well, that just means I want to get rid of the unions, and getting rid of those government unions will just chop the labor movement in half. No, thank you. No, thank you. If anything, government unions should grow stronger, as far as I'm concerned, and it should grow, and we need to have it grow and grow and grow in the private sector. It's been too far the other way since 1980. I would say that in America, we went from the New Deal consensus, in my opinion, lasted from 1932 when Roosevelt got elected to the day Jimmy Carter was defeated in 1980 with the election of Ronald Reagan. And we live in the Reagan era from November 1980 to this day. We are still living in the Reagan era. And it's just gotten further right-wing since Ronald Reagan. I don't even think Ronald Reagan intended this country to be this far right. Believe it or not. And I was one of those people in the 80s that despised Ronald Reagan to the core. But damn it, there's a lot of Republican politicians that managed to make me look at Reagan in a more positive light, and I still despise everything Reagan stood for. Which brings me to Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida, and because spoiler alert, Ron DeSantis is a very dangerous man. So we're going to go, and I'm going to tell you why that Ron DeSantis is more dangerous than George W. Bush and Donald Trump. So we'll begin at the beginning, because, in 2000, George W. Bush stole the election. I'm sure that the disinformation government spore won't strike me down right away just yet. I'm sure it's in the formation. So, they'll deem this as fake news. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe not so much because I'm criticizing a Republican. But I'm sure when Republicans take over, I'm sure there's a President, Ron DeSantis, and he replaces Nina Jankowicz with Marjorie Taylor Greene. She'll strike this video down because I'm saying that the election was a fraud in the year 2000, for which it was. George W. Bush had help from his brother, Jeb Bush, who was the governor of Florida, Kathleen Harris, who was the Secretary of State in Florida, and a Reagan Bush slanted Supreme Court. So with the Supreme Court case, Bush versus Gore, 2000, they appointed George W. Bush into the presidency. He earned nothing. And I'm saying this as somebody who hates Al Gore, by the way. So don't call me a hack. I voted third party in that election, and I would still have voted the way I voted in 2000 again, if I can go back in time. Because Al Gore was bad enough. Al Gore was too right-wing. But having Joe Lieberman as the running mate made him the Bush-Cheney faction of the Gore-Lieberman ticket. So This man, George W. Bush, came in there, and yes, he was probably more moderate than Ronald Reagan in a lot of ways. Kind of like his dad, more moderate. It's true. But here's what's wrong. What was wrong with George Herbert Walker Bush and his dumb son, George W. Bush? They were both moderate, but they placated to the yahoos and the nutcases on the right, the political evangelicals, and engaged in dog whistles with the soft whisperings of racist nothing, sweet nothings in the ears of a lot of white people, resentful, and of course, when George W. Bush became president, once he became president, he bribes people with tax cuts. Tax cuts. That's always the answer. Tax cuts that most poor and middle class people really don't benefit from. So, and there is that. And remember, the gas prices crept up and up and up during his years. The world was on the brink of World War III. Kind of like now. The world was on the brink of World War III during the Bush-Cheney years. 9/11 happened. I'm not a 9/11 truther, but 9/11 happened under George W. Bush, and the Patriot Act took place. The Department of Homeland Security was set up. The Fourth Amendment basically became toilet paper, and so we were being monitored, we were being spied on. We had political prisoners on Guantanamo Bay being tortured. And we had war in two major countries, Afghanistan and Iraq. There was no weapons of mass destruction, none. It was all a big lie. George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz, and John Bolton, and Condoleezza Rice, all walking around free, almost celebrity-like today. Almost celebrity-like. Mean old orange man made people miss Bush and Cheney. You realize how fucked that is? Deregulation was on hyper overdrive. We almost had the second Great Depression because of George W. Bush. We almost financially collapsed as a country. Sure, Barack Obama came in. He was mediocre at best. Because just like his Democratic Party predecessor, Bill Clinton, they decided that being a spineless jellyfish to take abuse from Republicans is the best way to have good governance. I have my criticisms of Obama. You've heard it before. We'll fast forward it. And I'll just say that George W. Bush, in my opinion, to this day, and even a lot of liberals looked at me funny when Donald Trump came in the last, from 2017 to 2021, and they'll be like, you dislike George W. Bush worse than Donald Trump? I did then. I still do now. Make no apologies of it. Doesn't mean that I love Donald Trump. Not at all. Doesn't mean that. So anybody who thinks I'm some little secret fanboy for Donald Trump, let me give you a little education. In 2016, you've heard me say this before. 2016, I supported Bernie Sanders for president. I voted for Jill Stein in 2016. I would do it again, support Bernie Sanders for president if I could go back in time in 2016. And I would vote for Jill Stein again in the year 2016. In 2020, I supported Bernie Sanders in the primaries, and I would do it again if I could go back in time, knowing the outcome. I would have just been slightly less excited by Tulsi Gabbard, knowing what I know now about her. I would have voted for Howie Hawkins like I did in 2020. Again, if I could go back in time. And there are rumors that Bernie Sanders may be running in the year 2024. And if he runs for president in the year 2024, I will be voting for Bernie Sanders again. So anybody who thinks I'm a Donald Trump fan or give him too much of a free pass, just save it. That's not the case. What I will say about Donald Trump is this. Donald Trump was convinced to run for president by Bill and Hillary Clinton in 2016. They planted the seed in his head. And I bet you that Bill Clinton was in a golf course with Donald Trump, because there's like pictures of Donald Trump and what's his name? Michael Bloomberg, Rudy Giuliani, and Bill Clinton playing golf. And then, and it's all buddy system over there. It's all one big club. And I mean, and they go to the same cocktail parties. They mingle around with the same people. They may put a little song and dance, a little, little show. Oh, we disagree. This person's an asshole. That person's an asshole. And that's the way it is. But they planted the seed in Donald Trump's head, hoping to disrupt the Republican primaries to weaken the Republican Party so it will be an easier win for Hillary Clinton. Because let's face it, they know Hillary Clinton is not a likable person. So I really believe that Donald Trump entered that primaries thinking, well, I may go back to doing The Apprentice again. This is just great a publicity stunt. I'll do this for a little while. I'll drop out later on. I think that was the intention. And all of a sudden, I think that's when everything started to get out of control, and he started to have an appeal. And then he realized, being the show business personality that he is, that he has that right-wing base out there. That right-wing base was ready with the red meat, and he knew how to reel him in. I to this day do not believe that he believes even 80% of the right-wing rhetoric that he spews out of his mouth. For those of you that don't know, Donald Trump's politics, it wasn't liberal per se, wasn't progressive, but it wasn't particularly right-wing. It was centrist in some cases, maybe mildly conservative in others, and sometimes surprisingly progressive and liberal. The man didn't have a problem with abortion. He was pro-choice. He supported gun control. He supported LGBTQ rights. He supported single-payer health care. This is true. Some of the Republicans made damn sure in the primaries to let them know about his past. And it was funny watching the primaries. I mean, even when he was criticizing Jeb Bush for his brother's role in the Iraq War, I mean, he almost sounded like people from the peace movement during the Bush-Cheney years in the streets. So he basically created a coalition of people, Obama supporters that were kind of tired of the Democratic Party, a lot of blue-collar people in the Rust Belt that were kind of disillusioned because the Democratic Party weren't listening to them. The typical right-wing mob that kind of liked some of his enhanced right-wing rhetoric. Some of them didn't quite trust him, so he chose Mike Pence as his running mate to reel in the evangelicals who might have been a little more distrusting of him. And he was able to win the presidency. And I've never seen anything quite like it in my life. Somebody who was as sleazy as Bill Clinton, the same people who hated Bill Clinton in the 1990s elected Donald Trump. Amazing. Really, that is amazing. But I don't think he's the right-wing pariah, really, personally, but he needed to go and be accountable to his base. And unfortunately, he was all these years, and he did play to his base. I mean, the dog whistles were a little bit louder, and he placated in the culture wars in 2020. Yeah, and in 2016, he sometimes campaigned to the left of Hillary Clinton on some issues. In 2020, he campaigned as your typical, just nasty asshole, hateful Republican type. And I have often said that a 2016 Never Trumper turned into a 2020 pro-Trump sycophant would be the worst kind of person politically around, because they hated Trump in 2016 because they thought he was too liberal, and they loved Trump in 2020 because he was more conservative in policy than they hoped for. So they're the worst people around. And the election, unfortunately, even though I don't think his politics is quite the same because of Donald Trump, the really shitty consequences of it is Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, people of that type, the Paul Gosars of the world, I think, who's been around for a while, people like Matt Gaetz, who's been around for a while, people like that. There's Governor Ron DeSantis down in Florida, who was considered basically a possible Trump successor. Sometimes people say he's a Trump confidant. Well, Donald Trump has his eye on the presidency, and that's where things are going to get very interesting, because Ron DeSantis is thinking about running for the presidency. And let me tell you something. Ron DeSantis is indeed probably more dangerous. There's no probably. Ron DeSantis is more dangerous than George W. Bush and Donald Trump combined. And I'm going to tell you why. His heart and soul, the policies of a Ron DeSantis presidency would be no different from the policies of George W. Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush, or Ronald Reagan, or that of losers like Bob Dole, or Mitt Romney, or John McCain. It would be basically more free trade, more outsourcing, tax cuts for the super wealthy. It would be basically shit like that. Military industrial complex. It would basically mean more neocon wars. It would mean all these things that people don't like about the Republican Party on the liberal left. It would mean sucking up to the evangelicals in a very cringy sort of way, and he means every bit of it. In fact, he means it more than Donald Trump or George W. Bush. One thing George W. Bush and Donald Trump have is, deep down, they're both rather moderate. Ron DeSantis is a real Kool-Aid drinker. That makes him dangerous. He's a real Kool-Aid drinker. So he's an ideologue. His politics isn't all that different from Ted Cruz or Tom Cotton. His politics, he's basically Marjorie Taylor Greene in a way. His politics is that of Marjorie Taylor Greene, but done in a way that he doesn't turn people off the way she would. In other words, a President Ron DeSantis, believe it or not, if he's elected, the way he presents himself, you're not going to see assistance from liberals the way they did with Donald Trump, because he looks fucking normal. He doesn't look deranged. He doesn't look like a clown. In other words, Ron DeSantis would be everything that the liberals hated about Donald Trump that was true and untrue. But here's the thing. He would do it without the sense of humor. He's a smarter Donald Trump who is the real thing, who basically embraces everything that's awful that comes out of the Heritage Foundation, everything that's awful about the evangelical Christians when it comes to politics, everything that's awful about the military-industrial complex and the neocon goons that wants to bomb other countries, and everything that the corporatist wants when it comes to busting unions, tax cuts, deregulation, and if possible, privatization of Social Security, privatization of Medicare. That is that is the jewel that they want. He's basically a competent right-wing manager. See, George W. Bush was a doofus. I mean, he was a goofball. But he was normal. Donald Trump is a goofball, lazy, incompetent, silly. Ron DeSantis is all the things that's shitty about George W. Bush, but competent. He's all the things that are shitty that they project in Donald Trump, but serious and competent. So in other words, this is my warning to you all. And this is why Joe Biden fucked up when he created that disinformation governance board with this Mary Poppins bitch, Nina Jankowicz. I would not put it past Ron DeSantis to put someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene to replace her. I was listening to Farron Cousins the other day talking about this disinformation governance board, and there was, and I can't find it, but they said something on the show, Ring of Fire, about Marjorie Taylor Greene being delighted about what conservatives can do if they can get in control of it. And, and I'm not making a dig at all conservatives. I am on Rand Paul's side on the issue of this disinformation governance board. For all the Republicans who are listening to this right now, I am on Rand Paul's side on this issue. So Rand Paul is the real thing. But someone like Ron DeSantis, if he said he's against this disinformation governance board, he is lying to his fucking teeth. And let me tell you, people like Ron DeSantis will use this thing in the name of revenge politics, just like he did with Disney, assaulting their free speech. How dare Disney go and challenge the authority of Ron DeSantis? Ron DeSantis can fuck off. He can fuck off. He and his damn helicopter rides. Helicopter rides. Those of you don't know what I mean by helicopter rides, look up the term, type in helicopter rides Augusto Pinochet, and you will know what I'm talking about. Yes, I'm going there. This man is a dictator wannabe. Ron DeSantis is more dangerous than George W. Bush and Donald Trump combined. Liberals, if you don't believe me, all you make resistance liberals, if you don't believe me, don't say I didn't warn you. Don't say I didn't warn you. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree with what I have to say, comment anyway. We will have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, I'm a First Amendment absolutist. Ron DeSantis is not. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, and remember, we have a class struggle that we have to achieve socialism in our time. We also have to preserve our civil liberties, which includes our right to privacy, our right to dissent, our right to free speech, our right to freedom of the press, which makes me say this: we're all Julian Assange. I will conclude by saying music.